Long before anyone hears your voice, they begin forming an impression of you. Your posture, your pace, your facial expression, your attention, and the way you respond to your surroundings all communicate something. None of these signals determine your worth, but together they shape how approachable, composed, and engaged you appear. Presence begins with being fully where you are. Instead of scanning the room for approval or worrying about how you're being judged, direct your attention toward the conversation, the environment, and the people around you. This simple shift changes your behavior in subtle but meaningful ways. You listen more carefully, your expressions become more natural, and your responses become more thoughtful because you're no longer occupied by constant self-evaluation. Calmness also has a powerful effect. When your movements are measured instead of rushed, people often perceive you as more composed and emotionally steady. That doesn't mean moving slowly for the sake of appearance. It means acting with intention rather than reacting from anxiety. Whether you're sitting down, greeting someone, or speaking, deliberate actions can project confidence because they suggest you are comfortable with yourself and the situation. Another important aspect of presence is eye contact. Comfortable, respectful eye contact shows engagement and attention. It communicates that you're interested in the interaction rather than distracted or preoccupied. Combined with genuine listening, it helps create conversations where the other person feels acknowledged rather than merely observed. Your expressions matter as well. A relaxed face and a genuine smile often make others feel more at ease. Authentic warmth is usually more inviting than trying to appear impressive. People tend to remember how they felt during an interaction, and creating a comfortable atmosphere often leaves a stronger impression than trying to appear flawless. Presence also means accepting yourself instead of constantly trying to hide perceived imperfections. Many people become so focused on correcting every detail about themselves that they unintentionally draw attention away from the conversation. Shifting your focus from self-monitoring to genuine engagement allows your personality to come forward more naturally. Being present isn't about dominating a room or becoming the center of attention. In many cases, the people who leave the strongest positive impression are those who make others feel heard, respected, and comfortable. They don't rush to fill every silence, interrupt to prove themselves, or compete for attention. They create space for meaningful interaction. Over time, this kind of presence becomes part of your character rather than a technique. It grows through self-awareness, emotional regulation, and genuine interest in other people. Rather than asking, "How can I make someone like me?" a more useful question is, "How can I show up as my best, most attentive self?" That shift changes the quality of your interactions and builds stronger, more authentic connections. True presence is not about manipulating attraction. It is about communicating confidence, respect, and authenticity through consistent behavior. Those qualities may not guarantee that every person will be attracted to you, but they create a solid foundation for healthy relationships and meaningful first impressions. Many people believe confidence arrives only after they receive enough praise, attention, or validation from others. They wait for compliments before they feel attractive, for success before they feel capable, or for someone's approval before they trust their own value. The problem with this mindset is that it places your self-worth in someone else's hands. When approval becomes the source of confidence, your emotions rise and fall with every opinion, every rejection, and every moment of uncertainty. Real confidence begins the moment you decide that your value is not determined by how many people choose you, but by how honestly you choose yourself. When you stop seeking approval, your behavior naturally changes. You no longer feel the need to impress everyone you meet or prove that you're interesting enough to deserve attention. Instead of constantly wondering whether someone likes you, your focus shifts toward discovering whether the interaction is genuine, respectful, and enjoyable for both of you. This simple change removes pressure from every conversation and allows your personality to emerge without the burden of performance. People are often drawn to those who appear comfortable in their own skin. That comfort doesn't come from believing you're perfect. It comes from accepting that imperfections are part of being human. A confident person doesn't pretend to have all the answers or hide every weakness. They understand that authenticity creates stronger connections than perfection ever could. When you're honest about who you are, you give others permission to be authentic as well, and that creates trust far more effectively than trying to project an impossible image. Seeking constant approval can also make you ignore your own standards. You may say yes when you want to say no, laugh at jokes you don't find funny, or agree with opinions you don't actually share because you're afraid of losing someone's interest. Over time, this habit weakens your identity. The more you sacrifice your values to gain acceptance, the less confident you become because you're no longer living according to your own principles. Genuine confidence grows when your actions consistently reflect your beliefs, even if that means not everyone will agree with you. Another important shift happens when rejection no longer feels like proof that something is wrong with you. Every person has different preferences, experiences, and expectations. Not every connection is meant to become a relationship, friendship, or lasting bond. Confident people understand that compatibility matters more than universal approval. Instead of viewing rejection as failure, they see it as information that helps them move toward people who appreciate them for who they truly are. Your confidence also becomes more stable because it is built on habits rather than opinions. Keeping promises to yourself, developing new skills, taking care of your health, and facing challenges with persistence create evidence that you are capable regardless of what others think. This kind of confidence cannot be taken away by a negative comment or a disappointing experience because it is supported by your own actions and character. When you stop chasing validation, you also become a better listener. You're no longer waiting for the perfect opportunity to impress someone or prove your worth. Instead, you're fully engaged in understanding the other person. Conversations become more meaningful because they are no longer centered on gaining approval. They become opportunities to learn, connect, and share experiences honestly. Living without constantly seeking approval doesn't mean becoming indifferent or dismissive of others. Respecting people's opinions and appreciating encouragement are healthy parts of life. The difference is that your identity no longer depends on those opinions. You can welcome praise without becoming dependent on it, and you can handle criticism without allowing it to define you. This emotional balance creates resilience, strengthens your relationships, and allows you to move through life with a quiet confidence that comes from knowing your worth is rooted in your character rather than in someone else's approval. Emotional control is not about hiding your feelings or pretending that nothing affects you. It is the ability to understand your emotions without allowing them to control your actions. Everyone experiences excitement, disappointment, frustration, and fear, but the people who make the strongest impression are often those who respond thoughtfully instead of reacting impulsively. This kind of self-control creates an atmosphere of stability, and stability is one of the qualities that people naturally appreciate in both friendships and romantic relationships. When emotions take over, decisions often become rushed. A person who constantly seeks reassurance, overreacts to small setbacks, or becomes defensive during simple conversations may unintentionally create tension. On the other hand, someone who remains calm under pressure communicates that they can handle challenges without becoming overwhelmed. This doesn't mean they never experience stress. It means they have learned how to pause, think clearly, and choose responses that reflect their values instead of their temporary emotions. One of the clearest signs of emotional control is the ability to stay present during uncomfortable moments. Silence, disagreement, or uncertainty do not automatically require an immediate reaction. Many people rush to fill every pause because they fear being misunderstood or rejected. Yet meaningful conversations often improve when both people have time to think before speaking. A thoughtful pause can demonstrate confidence, patience, and respect for the conversation, allowing emotions to settle before words are chosen. Emotional control also influences the way you handle rejection and disappointment. No one enjoys hearing no or realizing that a relationship may not develop as hoped. However, responding with anger, resentment, or desperation rarely improves the situation. Accepting disappointment with maturity demonstrates resilience and self-respect. It shows that your emotional well-being is not entirely dependent on another person's choices. This mindset allows you to move forward without carrying unnecessary bitterness or damaging your confidence. Another important aspect of emotional control is listening without becoming defensive. During conversations, people may express opinions that differ from yours or offer feedback that feels uncomfortable. Instead of interrupting or immediately trying to defend yourself, taking the time to understand their perspective creates stronger communication. It demonstrates that your confidence is not threatened by disagreement and that you value understanding over winning an argument. Your daily habits also reflect your emotional state. Speaking at a steady pace, maintaining relaxed body language, and giving others your full attention communicate a sense of composure. These behaviors are not techniques designed to manipulate people. They are natural expressions of someone who feels secure enough to remain calm. Over time, these consistent behaviors help build trust because people tend to feel more comfortable around individuals whose emotions are balanced and predictable. Developing emotional control requires practice rather than perfection. There will always be situations that trigger frustration, anxiety, or self-doubt. The goal is not to eliminate these emotions, but to recognize them without letting them dictate your behavior. Simple habits such as reflecting before responding, maintaining healthy routines, exercising regularly, getting enough rest, and developing self-awareness all contribute to greater emotional balance. The stronger your internal stability becomes, the less external circumstances determine your mood or your confidence. Perhaps the greatest benefit of emotional control is that it allows your authentic personality to shine without being overshadowed by fear or insecurity. Instead of constantly reacting to every situation, you begin making choices based on purpose and integrity. People often feel more comfortable around someone who remains respectful during conflict, patient during uncertainty, and optimistic during challenges. These qualities create lasting impressions because they reflect genuine maturity rather than temporary charm. Emotional control is not about becoming emotionally distant. It is about becoming emotionally dependable, allowing others to experience your confidence through consistency, respect, and thoughtful action. Many people enter conversations believing their primary goal is to impress the other person. They carefully plan what to say, search for clever responses, and worry about making every moment memorable. While this approach may seem helpful, it often shifts attention away from the conversation itself and towards self-performance. Genuine curiosity creates a very different experience. Instead of trying to prove your value, you become interested in understanding the other person's experiences, ideas, and perspective. That simple change transforms conversations from performances into meaningful exchanges. People naturally appreciate being heard. When someone listens with real attention, without constantly interrupting or waiting for their turn to speak, they create a sense of respect that cannot be faked. Genuine curiosity means asking questions because you sincerely want to know the answer, not because you're following a conversation technique. It means paying attention to the details someone shares and remembering them later. These small actions communicate that the person in front of you matters, and that feeling is often more memorable than any perfectly rehearsed story. Curiosity also removes unnecessary pressure from social interactions. Instead of worrying about saying the perfect thing, your focus shifts toward learning something new about another human being. Every person has a unique story, shaped by different experiences, cultures, challenges, and dreams. When you approach conversations with an open mind, you discover opportunities to connect that scripted responses could never create. People often feel more comfortable sharing their thoughts when they sense they are speaking with someone who genuinely cares rather than someone trying to impress them. Meaningful conversations grow through balance. While listening is important, sharing your own experiences honestly also builds connection. The difference is that your stories become a natural part of the conversation rather than an attempt to compete for attention. Instead of constantly redirecting the discussion toward yourself, you contribute in ways that deepen mutual understanding. This creates a rhythm where both people feel valued and heard. Performance, on the other hand, often leads to anxiety. When your goal is to appear interesting, every pause feels uncomfortable, every mistake feels significant, and every response becomes something to analyze. This constant self-monitoring makes conversations feel exhausting because your attention is divided between connecting with the other person and judging your own performance. Genuine curiosity eliminates much of this pressure because your attention remains focused outward instead of inward. Curiosity also encourages empathy. As you learn about another person's experiences, you begin to understand the emotions behind their words rather than making quick assumptions. Even when you disagree with someone, taking the time to understand their perspective demonstrates emotional maturity and respect. This approach doesn't require you to change your own beliefs, but it allows conversations to remain thoughtful and constructive rather than becoming arguments driven by ego. Another benefit of genuine curiosity is that it helps reveal compatibility more naturally. Instead of trying to convince someone that you're the right person, you begin discovering whether your values, interests, and personalities genuinely align. This creates healthier relationships because they are built on mutual understanding instead of one-sided effort. Attraction that grows from authentic conversations is often stronger than attraction based solely on appearances or first impressions because it is supported by emotional connection. People often remember how a conversation made them feel long after they forget the exact words that were spoken. Someone who feels respected, understood, and accepted is more likely to remember the interaction positively. Genuine curiosity creates that experience by making the conversation about shared understanding rather than personal performance. It communicates confidence because you no longer feel the need to prove your worth through constant talking or exaggerated stories. Instead, your presence reflects patience, attentiveness, and authenticity, qualities that build trust and create lasting connections far beyond the first meeting. Self-respect is one of the most powerful qualities a person can develop because it shapes every decision, every relationship, and every standard you choose to live by. It is not about believing you are better than others or demanding admiration wherever you go. Instead, self-respect is the quiet understanding that your time, energy, values, and well-being deserve to be treated with care. When you genuinely respect yourself, you naturally encourage others to do the same. This inner foundation creates a quiet strength that is far more lasting than temporary charm or external success. Many people mistakenly believe that becoming more attractive means gaining approval from everyone around them. They adjust their personality to fit different situations, hide their true opinions to avoid disagreement, or accept treatment that falls below their standards because they fear being rejected. While this approach may earn short-term acceptance, it often comes at the cost of personal integrity. Every time you abandon your values simply to please someone else, you weaken your confidence because your actions no longer reflect who you truly are. Self-respect begins when you decide that being authentic is more important than being universally liked. Healthy boundaries are one of the clearest expressions of self-respect. Boundaries are not walls designed to keep people away. They are guidelines that protect your emotional well-being and encourage mutual respect. A person with healthy boundaries knows when to say yes with enthusiasm and when to say no without guilt. They understand that protecting their peace is not selfish, but necessary for building healthy relationships. People who constantly sacrifice their own needs to satisfy everyone around them often become emotionally exhausted, while those who respect their limits create stronger and more balanced connections. Self-respect also influences the way you respond to challenges and rejection. Instead of viewing every disappointment as proof that you are not good enough, you recognize that setbacks are part of life. A relationship that doesn't work out, a missed opportunity, or criticism from others does not define your value as a person. You learn from these experiences without allowing them to damage your identity. This resilience creates emotional stability because your confidence is rooted in your character rather than in external outcomes. Another important aspect of self-respect is consistency. Your daily habits communicate how much you value yourself. Taking care of your physical health, honoring your commitments, continuing to learn, and treating yourself with kindness during difficult moments all reinforce the belief that you matter. These actions are not performed to impress others. They are investments in your own growth. Over time, every positive habit strengthens your confidence because you repeatedly prove to yourself that you are capable of discipline, responsibility, and progress. Self-respect also changes the way you communicate with others. Instead of seeking constant reassurance or trying to win every argument, you express your thoughts honestly while remaining respectful of different perspectives. You don't need to dominate conversations to feel important, nor do you stay silent simply to avoid conflict. You become comfortable expressing your opinions with clarity and listening with equal respect. This balance creates trust because people recognize that your confidence comes from inner security rather than ego. Perhaps the greatest benefit of self-respect is that it helps you choose relationships wisely. Rather than chasing people who offer inconsistent attention or expecting others to complete you, you look for connections built on mutual appreciation, honesty, and shared values. You understand that a healthy relationship should add to an already meaningful life, not become the sole source of your happiness. This mindset reduces desperation and creates space for genuine connection to grow naturally. True personal magnetism does not come from pretending to be perfect or constantly seeking admiration. It grows from living in a way that reflects your values, protecting your self-worth without arrogance, and treating yourself with the same dignity you hope to receive from others. When your confidence is built on self-respect instead of external validation, it becomes steady, authentic, and resilient. That quiet strength influences the way you think, the way you act, and the way others experience your presence, creating relationships that are based on trust, mutual respect, and genuine appreciation rather than the need for constant approval. A life driven by purpose has a unique kind of energy. It doesn't rely on constant attention, endless approval, or the need to impress others. Instead, it is guided by meaningful goals, personal values, and a commitment to continuous growth. When you wake up each day with something important to work toward, your confidence begins to come from your own progress rather than from the opinions of people around you. This quiet sense of direction naturally influences the way you think, communicate, and build relationships. Many people make the mistake of believing that attraction should become the center of their lives. They spend countless hours wondering how to gain someone's attention, how to appear more interesting, or how to avoid rejection. While there is nothing wrong with wanting meaningful relationships, making another person's approval your primary focus often creates unnecessary pressure. Ironically, when your happiness depends entirely on being chosen, you may come across as anxious or overly dependent. A purposeful life shifts that balance. Relationships become an important part of your journey, but they no longer define your identity. Purpose gives you something larger than temporary emotions to invest in. Whether it is building a career, improving your health, learning a new skill, creating meaningful work, serving your community, or pursuing a personal passion, these commitments develop discipline and resilience. Every challenge you overcome strengthens your belief in your own abilities. Instead of measuring your worth by external validation, you begin measuring it by your willingness to grow and stay true to your values. People are often drawn to individuals who have a genuine sense of direction because purpose creates emotional stability. Someone who knows what matters to them is less likely to become consumed by every disappointment or distracted by every opinion. They can enjoy relationships without losing themselves in them. Their identity remains grounded because it is supported by meaningful goals rather than constant reassurance from others. Living with purpose also changes the quality of your conversations. Instead of relying on rehearsed stories or trying to appear impressive, you naturally have experiences, ideas, and lessons to share. Your enthusiasm becomes authentic because it comes from things you genuinely care about. Passion is difficult to fake, and people often notice when someone speaks with sincerity about work they enjoy, challenges they have overcome, or dreams they continue to pursue. These conversations feel engaging because they reveal character rather than performance. Purpose encourages continuous improvement. Instead of comparing yourself to everyone around you, your focus shifts toward becoming a better version of yourself than you were yesterday. This mindset reduces unnecessary competition and replaces it with personal growth. You celebrate your own progress while appreciating the achievements of others without feeling threatened by them. Such confidence is calm because it is built on self-development rather than comparison. Another important benefit of purpose is that it helps you make healthier decisions about relationships. When your life is already meaningful, you are less likely to remain in situations that compromise your values or happiness simply because you fear being alone. You seek partners who support your growth and whose own ambitions and values complement yours. Healthy relationships become partnerships where both individuals encourage one another to thrive rather than expecting one person to provide all the meaning in the other's life. Purpose also develops patience. Significant achievements rarely happen overnight, and meaningful relationships usually grow through time, trust, and shared experiences. A purposeful person understands this. They are willing to invest consistent effort without expecting immediate rewards. This patience often creates a sense of confidence because they are not constantly rushing to prove themselves or force outcomes they cannot control. Ultimately, living with purpose transforms the way others experience your presence. You become someone whose confidence is rooted in action, whose optimism is supported by meaningful goals, and whose relationships are built on authenticity rather than need. Attraction becomes a natural byproduct of a fulfilling life instead of its primary objective. When your days are guided by purpose, your actions carry greater intention, your conversations become more genuine, and your confidence reflects the quiet satisfaction of knowing that your life is moving in a direction you have consciously chosen.